If Pyros and Crips all got along, they probably got me down by the end of the song. Seem like the whole city go against me. Every time I'm in the street, I hear drop, 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 drop.
I did say I was going to talk about the Raiders. But first, my oh my oh my. Chargers. What can I say, man? I fucking called it, bro. I said this shit from day fucking one. They should have fired this faggot ass dude, Tom Telesco. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, they should have fired Tom Telesco. I don't know why to make general manager decisions. Look at what the fuck he did this offseason. He let Hunter Henry, their franchise tight end, he was like, what? How old is Hunter Henry? This dude is 27 years old. In the prime of his career, let him walk out the door. For nothing. They let Hunter Henry walk, brought in trash-ass Jared Cook. This dude couldn't catch a fucking... This dude couldn't catch a fucking baseball. This dude probably couldn't even catch a beach ball, bro. This dude probably, if you tried to throw a beach ball to him, he probably couldn't even catch that shit. This dude can't catch for shit. You know what I mean? Brought in trash-ass Jared Cook to replace Hunter Henry. They drafted this random-ass tight end, like named Trey McKitty, who played like 2 snaps the entire season. So they have no tight end. They've been needing a speed receiver for a long time, yet they draft this one dude, Josh Palmer, who cannot run down the field to save his fucking life. You know what I mean? You know, they could have gotten Deshaun Jackson, but they decided to pass on him. When, like I said, they needed a fucking speed receiver. They didn't sign Deshaun Jackson. They didn't sign Kenny Stills. They didn't sign Keelan Cole. So any sort of burner they could have gotten, they just refused to fucking sign them. And I have no clue why. So they couldn't sign a burner. That's number one. They chose Chris Harris Jr. over Casey Hayward. Guess who picked the Chargers off, like, what, 1, 2? He must have picked them off at least twice this game, like in the Chargers-Raiders game I'm talking about, because this video is probably coming out like a week after the game, but it's just like, because I didn't want to just do a recap on the game. Same thing for the Colts-Jaguars game. I didn't want to just do a recap on the game. I wanted to just shit on, like, everything they did in the offseason, everything they should do. But, I mean, I don't even want to talk about everything they should do, because they completely fucked their entire team this offseason. Everyone was talking about how the Chargers had a great offseason, and I was the only one saying, fuck no, they didn't. They had a horrible offseason. They had an absolutely horrible offseason. They lost their franchise tight end in Hunter Henry. That man's balling out in New England. They lost their franchise corner in Casey Hayward and kept trash-ass Chris Harris. You know what I mean? And then Denzel Perriman is the leading tackler. In the league, and he plays for the Raiders now. Now, I think they should have let Denzel Perriman go because he wasn't really doing much for the Chargers. But they didn't do anything to replace him. Like, they did nothing to replace this dude. They didn't go out and get a middle linebacker. I think Zach Cunningham was available. They couldn't get him. There was like a bunch of other guys they could have gotten to replace Denzel Perriman. They never replaced Denzel Perriman. Rayshawn Jenkins was a great backup when Sterling James got injured. They couldn't replace him. John Johnson literally said he wanted to come to the Chargers. He literally said he wanted to play with Brandon Staley, and yet they insisted on starting Nasir trash-ass Adderley instead of getting John Johnson. So 3 things they fucked up on. They got rid of their franchise. They got rid of their franchise tight end. They got rid of their franchise corner. They refused to sign a dominant safety in John Johnson, who would have been great alongside Derwin James. Because Derwin James, even though he's good, Nasir Adderley is fucking garbage. Yeah, and Derwin James is like always hurt, so you always need a backup. Because the thing about John Johnson is he can play free safety and he can play strong safety. So if Derwin James get injured, you can just slide him to strong safety, or when they're together, you can put him out at free safety. So he could do anything. And they just, for some reason, the Chargers, they just fumbled the bag, man. They like Michael Davis. I think he was I think it was smart to re-sign him. You know what I mean? But basically all the guys the Browns signed, the fucking Chargers should have signed. They should have signed Troy Hill. They should have signed John Johnson. They should have signed those guys. You know what I mean? But they just refused to fucking sign those guys. And look where they're... Now, Melvin Ingram, I think they should have let him walk because he was being a bitch. And he wasn't really doing shit at all last season. But they just fumbled the bag this entire offseason, bro. And it showed up on the field, too. Because they overpaid for Corey Linsley rather than addressing their left tackle position. And even though Rashawn Slater did well for like the first half of the season, you could clearly see that the second half of the season that Rashawn Slater, even though he's like a Pro Bowler, even though he's a great player, you could clearly see in the second half of the season, this dude Rashawn Slater was starting to regress. Meanwhile, Orlando Brown, he started off pretty bad in the first half of the season, but in the second half of the season, he really got his shit together. So while Rashawn Slater started out great, he started regressing towards the end of the season, and while Orlando Brown started off bad, he started getting better as the season got along. So, you know what I mean? Rashawn Slater was getting penalties, you know what I mean? All that shit. Like, he was getting called for holding all the time. You know what I mean? Like, I think fucking Max Crosby just dominated this dude. Yannick Ngakoue dominated this dude. Like, so it's like, I don't know, man. Rashawn Slater, at one token, I mean, obviously, he's a great player. At another token, he's a rookie. You don't want your franchise left tackle to be a rookie unless if you're a team that's trying to win right now. If you're trying to win right now, you want a guy who's a proven commodity. You know what I mean? And one of the Chiefs have to give up, like the 31st pick. They couldn't give up. You're really fucking telling me if the Chargers traded like their 13th pick, they couldn't have gotten Orlando Brown? Or you're really telling me that they couldn't have like they didn't even really trade their 31st pick. It was like a pick swap. So they got like the Ravens second round pick and the other people. So you're telling me they couldn't like swap like first round picks or some shit? Like, for example, let's say the Ravens gave them like the 27th pick. They gave them the 13th pick. If they had the 27th pick, you know who they could have picked? You know who they could have picked with that shit? Elijah fucking Moore. Look at what Elijah Moore is doing with the Jets. That man is just burning people all across the field. Guess what we've needed for this entire Guess what I've said we've needed for like what? Ever since Travis Benjamin left. A fucking burner. I said we need a fucking burner. I think we had like Tyrell Williams when Phillip Rivers was still around. We had Travis Benjamin, but ever since those guys left, we have not had a consistent number 3 receiver, because we've had Mike Williams, we've had Keenan Allen, but outside of those two, who the fuck is our number 3 receiver? We got no one as a number 3 receiver. Now we don't have a tight end because we let Hunter Henry walk out the door. Because don't even get me started on Jared fucking Cook, how trash that dude is. So basically, we chose a corner who's still in the prime of his career for a washed up. We chose a corner who we cut the corner who's in the prime of his career and balling out for our rival team in the Raiders in Casey Hayward for trash ass Chris Harris. We let him walk to make Chris Harris stay on the team. You know what I mean? So we do that. We let our franchise tight end walk. We don't sign John Johnson, who literally wanted to come to this fucking team, and would have been a great. And then we decide to start Nasir trash ass Adderley. You know what I mean? We don't get Orlando Brown, who I've been saying we need to fucking get. I've been saying we need to get Orlando Brown, not Rashawn Slater. Because Rashawn Slater, if he was on a team like the Panthers, if he was on a team like the Broncos, like rebuilding teams, like then he could actually grow. But this is a team that has to win right fucking now, bro. You can't waste Justin Herbert's career. They've literally pissed away 2 years of this man's career. They haven't, and also, who the fuck is the backup to Austin Eckler? Who is it? Like Justin Jackson? This dude has like one good game every 9 games. You know what I mean? So they have no backup to Austin Eckler. So Austin Eckler, he had a great season this year, but last season he was hurt for half the season. So what happens when this dude who's like 5'7", who's not the biggest guy in the world, let's say he gets hurt again? What happens to their run game? So they didn't sign it. They could not sign like Sony Michel. Like I heard they were going after Sony Michel. They couldn't get. You're telling me they couldn't give up the Rams gave up a 6th round pick to get Sony Michel. You're telling me they couldn't give up a 6th round pick to get Sony Michel? Guess what happened in all of these fucking 4th and 1, 4th and 2 plays when they had Austin Eckler run? This man got fucking stuffed on the goal line because they don't have a power back. They're asking, like they used to have Austin Eckler and Melvin Gordon, but then they fumbled the bag on Melvin Gordon, which I don't blame them for doing since Melvin Gordon was being a bitch. But ever since then, they have not tried to replace Melvin Gordon. They just want Austin Eckler to do basically everything. They don't have a power back they could use to run on 4th and 1s or 4th and 2s. So anytime they're in those situations, they gotta try some random bullshit. They gotta do a pass. They gotta do a pass play on 4th and 4. They gotta do a pass play on all these fucking 4th downs because they don't have a fucking power runner like a Sony Michel, like a Derrick. Like they don't have like a Melvin Gordon. They don't have anyone like that. So they gotta do a fucking pass play every time they go for it on 4th down. So this team is fucked, man. This team is really fucked. Everything they could have done, they just completely fucking fumbled. They never addressed their run defense, like ever. Like they tried to address it by signing trash ass Linval Joseph, but he's been washed up for like years. So I don't know, man. This team, like the only 2 good things they did this entire offseason was, one, they drafted Asante Samuel Jr. I've been saying that man's a stud. So Asante Samuel Jr., you know, I gotta give him credit for that one. I think that man's a fucking stud. That man's gonna be great for a long time. So they signed Asante Samuel Jr. They signed Matt Filer, who I think was just... I think he just struggled because they didn't have... I think he just struggled because the Steelers' O-line... Just like, I don't know, the Steelers' O-line was just like... The O-line as a whole just struggled, you know what I mean? Like Alejandro Villanueva, Pouncey, DeCastro, like all those guys were getting old, so I mean, you would kind of expect those guys to struggle, like, you know what I mean? But I think Matt Filer, I think he was a good addition, you know what I mean? Now Corey Linsley, they overpaid for this motherfucker, yet they couldn't get Orlando Brown. They gave this motherfucker Corey Linsley all the money. Now Corey Linsley's great and all, but like, you don't pay. Who the fuck chooses to pay a center over a left tackle? I understand a center is an important position in the O-line, but the left tackle is by far the most position in the entire offensive line. Bar fucking none. So and then they picked O'Day Obushi. They chose this dude over signing a guy like they chose this dude over signing a guy like maybe Kevin Zeitler. Kevin Zeitler is looking. So that's another thing they could have done. They could have gotten Orlando Brown, and another thing they could have done. They cut Trey Turner for fucking nothing, and guess who went out there and got like $12 million for? Guess who went out there and got like $12 million for the Ravens? Kevin Zeitler. So you're really fucking telling me if they were to trade Trey Turner and like a second for Orlando Brown, they couldn't have done that deal? Because if they weren't willing to give $12 million out to Kevin Zeitler, I guarantee you they would have been willing to take on Trey Turner's contract. So they never bothered to replace Trey Turner. They signed like trash ass Odeo Bushy when Kevin Zeidler's having one of the best seasons of his career. They could have signed him with all that money they gave to Trey Turner. So everything they did, they just fumbled this entire fucking offseason. They could have traded Trey Turner for Orlando Brown. They could have traded Trey Turner for Orlando Brown, franchise tag Hunter Henry, kept Casey Hayward, and then cut Chris Harris Jr. You know what I mean? Get Sony Michel. There's so many other things they could have done, and they fumbled the bag, bro. And in doing all this shit, so I don't know why the fuck I don't know why they could have franchise tag. You do realize the franchise tag is a thing, right? They could have I understand Hunter Henry was asking for a lot, but if it really came down to it, you can't franchise tag Hunter Henry. You know what I mean? With all that fucking money you gave to Corey Linsley, you couldn't use that money to just franchise tag Hunter Henry? Because the Patriots, this is their one season they had all this cap space. After this season, they spent all that cap space. They're not going to have all that cap space, and I don't think Hunter Henry would have signed with anyone else other than the Patriots. So if they franchise tag Hunter Henry, by the time next offseason comes around, I don't think he'd want to sign with anyone else. So you could have given him a long-term deal. So they're fucked, man. The Chargers are fucked. They're fucked. Because you saw the entire fucking game. You saw the entire game that he was just forcing shit to receivers. He was forcing shit to Mike Williams. He was forcing shit to Keenan Allen because Jared Cook is fucking trash. But imagine in all those fourth down scenarios, all those scenarios where they had to go for it, all those scenarios where they had to just convert on a first down, if they had a safety blanket like Hunter Henry, that he could have just thrown open all those fucking first downs. You know what I mean? So, basically, I don't know. They started off the season really well. I think they started off 5-2. I think they were leading the division at one point. And even though I've been shitting on the Raiders, I gotta give them the props. I can't hate all. Now they're gonna get their asses clapped by the Bengals by 20 points. Let's not lie here. We all know the Bengals are about to clap that ass in a couple days. But I gotta give the Raiders their credit for beating us because we kind of beat ourselves, but at least they capitalized on it. This dude Brandon Staley, the Raiders literally were about to run the clock out, and it was about to be a tie, and we were about to both go to the playoffs. Yet this dude Brandon Staley, just for some odd reason, while they're already in field goal range, decides to call a timeout. Now I understand if he was calling a timeout to try to get a stop so they weren't in field goal range. These motherfuckers were already in field goal range, and this dude's still trying to call a timeout on third down. They were literally trying to run the clock out. So here's the thing. What the fuck was this dude trying to accomplish? Because they were trying to run the clock out and let it be a tie. So had this dude called a timeout and still gotten a stop, they would have still been in the field goal range. They would have still been able to kick that fucking field goal. So what was the point of calling that timeout? There was no point of calling that fucking timeout. Unless you thought you were going to miraculously get a pick, or if you were miraculously going to get a sack, which you weren't, because they were going to run the clock anyways. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. I think, here's the thing. Everyone is saying you got to fire Brandon Staley. I don't think this is Brandon Staley's fault. This is the fucking general manager's fault. This is the problem with fucking faggot-ass Tom Telesco. This dude just fucked up the entire offseason. This dude fucked up the entire fucking offseason. And if you want to blame Brandon Staley, you blame Tom Telesco. Because guess who hired Brandon Staley? Tom Telesco. This dude does not know what the fuck he's doing, bro. This dude needs to be fired immediately. So I remember, what is it? I jokingly called the Chargers. I didn't think anyone would actually... So I made this one suggestion about, okay, you guys should probably trade for Sony Michel. Now, I did say they should have gotten... I did tell him, you should trade Chris Harris and, a pick for Sony Michel. And he just completely shit on me. I told him I was a diehard fan. Now, I understand, okay, maybe he didn't like my suggestion. But if someone tells you they're a fucking diehard Chargers fan, at least respect their fucking opinion, bro. Because maybe they might know what they're talking about. Maybe, you know what I mean? At least try to, respect their fucking opinion. This dude, Tom Telesco, just thinks he fucking knows everything, bro. He doesn't. He fucked up. Like, if this dude is not fired within the next 2 fucking years, I will personally go to his house. I will personally start a riot in front of fucking, what is it, like, SoFi Stadium. This dude does not know what the fuck he's doing. He does not know. So, he chose, okay, few things he fucked up here. He chose Chris Harris Jr.'s trash ass over Casey Hayward. He chose Rashawn Slater, who's regressed halfway through the season. Like, he's regressed over the course of the season, over Orlando Brown, who's gotten better over the course of the season. He chose, what, like, Nasir Adderley over John Johnson? So this dude just, he never got a backup to Austin Eckler. So if Austin Eckler just goes down, their run game is just fucked. They got nobody. And Austin Eckler is not even supposed to be a pure running back. He's supposed to be like an Alvin Kamara. He's supposed to be like a receiving back. He's supposed to be someone who could run, someone who could catch. He's not supposed to be a pure runner. So you need to, if you're gonna have someone like Austin Eckler, who's like a third down back, you want to have a pure running back like a Sony Michel. But they don't have that either. So I don't know. The Chargers just have so many fucking flaws on the team that I don't even know where to start. They really do. Like, everything that's wrong with the Chargers, it's just, you can't fix it anymore at this point. It's too fucking late, because they created these holes themselves. They had a great fucking team last year that just, all they needed to do was change the coach. But not only did they change the coach, they got rid of half that fucking roster that made the team great. They got rid of Hunter Henry, they got rid of Casey Hayward. All the core guys that made that team great, they just fucking flushed all of them down the fucking toilet, bro. All they had to do was just run back the team they had last year. All they had to do was just run back the team they had last year. You know what I mean? Run back the team they had last year. You know, trade for Orlando Brown or do some shit like that. That's all they had to fucking do. They didn't have to change this entire fucking roster. Why the hell did they change this? They literally started out 1-7 and they ended the season 7-9. You do not change that roster. You make a couple tweaks here and there. You don't blow up the entire fucking roster after having a season like that. You keep the roster intact. You add a couple of pieces. You know what I mean? You play it out with the new coach, and you go from there. You don't blow up the entire fucking roster. You know what I mean? So this team just, like, this team is just wasting Justin Herbert's career. I hope this man requests a trade, bro. I really do. I hope this man requests a trade. Because the general manager doesn't know what the fuck he's doing, bro. I don't blame Brandon Staley. Brandon Staley, he had a couple fucks up here and there. But the main problem is Tom Telesco for being a fucking idiot. For blowing this team up before he even had the chance to get off the ground. You know what I mean? He blew this team, like, this team last year was fucking perfect, bro. They had a couple of flaws on the O-line, but other than that, this team, like, had all the pieces to do well, and they just decided to completely blow up that team. They started out 1-7, they ended up season 7-9. You keep that fucking team together. You do not blow up that fucking team. But guess what dumbass Tom Telesco tried to do? Oh, I'm smarter than everyone else. I'm gonna choose Chris Harris Jr. over Casey Hayward. I'm gonna choose Jared Cook over Hunter Henry. You know, I'm gonna choose Rashawn Slater over Orlando Brown. You know what I mean? This dude thinks he's smarter than everyone else. He's a fucking retard. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. Now, Brandon Staley, I'd say you keep that man, because that locker room rallies behind that man. He did a great job the first half of the season. He made a couple fuck ups here or there, but at the same time, he is a guy who all the players love. But Tom Telesco, he doesn't give a fuck about this team. This dude doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. This dude has no fucking clue what he's doing. He just does as he pleases. He signed Trey Turner. He traded Russell Okung for Trey Turner. Then Trey Turner was just immediately a fucking trash can for this team. You know what I mean? Then he never gives Hunter Henry a long-term extension. So, like, this dude doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. Then he signs Chris Harris Jr. for all this fucking money just to be fucking trash. This dude, like, I don't know about this year, but last year he was fucking trash. This year, like, I don't know what he's done. I know Asante Samuel Jr. is great, but Asante Samuel, it doesn't take much brain power to think if it like Asante Samuel, you know what I mean, one of the best cornerbacks in Patriots history, maybe his son is going to be a great player. It doesn't take much brain power to figure that out. You know what I mean? So this entire team is just fucked, bro. It's just fucked. And now half the fucking players that we had last season that would made us great are on the fucking Raiders. Casey Hayward's on there, Denzel Perriman. Like half our players that were making us great last season is like all we need to do is just make a couple tweaks here and there. Make a couple tweaks here and there, and then have the new coach come in and we'd be great. But no, we had to blow up the entire fucking roster, and then we had to blow up the entire fucking roster, bring this guy in, Brandon Staley, you know, have him change up everything. And instead of, if he just had the same fucking roster to work with, had a couple changes, they'd probably be in the playoffs. Maybe if they had Chris Harris, maybe if they had Casey Hayward, or if they had Hunter Henry to convert on those first downs, they'd probably be in the playoffs. But no, they just had to fuck up. They just had to rely on Nasir trash ass Adderley instead of signing John Johnson. They just had to do it. I don't know. I can't do it with this team. You know what I mean? I get Corey Lindsey's a great player, but is he more important than your fucking left tackle? Is it more important to not have a franchise tight end and a left tackle over just signing a center? That's basically what they did. They chose Corey Linsley over Hunter Henry and Orlando Brown combined. Because the money that they could have used, the money that they signed, all the money they gave to Corey Linsley, they could have used that to franchise tag Hunter Henry. They could have used that to trade for Orlando Brown. They could have used that shit. But no, they could have used that to sign Kevin Zeiler. There's so many things they could have done with that fucking money. But nope. Oh my god, Corey Linsley. We want to take another Packers player. You know, because that worked out so well for us last time with... And that's another thing. What's Brian Bulaga doing? I don't even think Brian Bulaga's in the rotation anymore, bro. Brian Bulaga is like... So they signed Brian Bulaga a couple years ago. He hasn't done shit for them. He's been injured this entire time. They signed Trey Turner. He hasn't done shit for them. They signed Chris Harris, who hasn't done shit for them. So, all these fucking players haven't done shit for them. These are all Tom Telesco's guys. These are all guys that Tom Telesco has signed. And then they got rid of guys like Chris Harris Jr., Casey Hayward, you know what I mean? Melvin Ingram. All these other guys are balling out for other teams. You know, Melvin Gordon, Denzel Perriman. All these guys are balling out for other teams. You know what I mean? And are not on our fucking team. And John Johnson was literally sitting in our fucking laps waiting to sign with Chargers. But no, they gotta go with Nasir Adderley because that's Tom Telesco's guy. So this dude's a fucking joke, bro. You gotta fire... I would keep Brandon Staley, but you gotta fire Tom Telesco, bro. This guy's a fucking clown, bro. This guy doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. Every one of his signings has backfired. He has not gotten a running back. He has not done anything to improve this offensive line. You know what I mean? In a smart way, I mean. Obviously he signed Corey Linsley. Oh my fucking god. Obviously he drafted Rashawn Slater. But if they were smart, they would have gotten Kevin Zeiler. They would have gotten Orlando Brown. You know what I mean? Maybe you sign a guy like Austin, or maybe you sign a guy like I think that like Austin Blythe or something. They could have signed Austin Blythe. They could have signed Austin Ryder, like the guy who was on the Chiefs O-line, like I think the starting center for the Chiefs last year. Like you didn't have to go big, dude. It's literally a fucking center, bro. It's not that important. Now a center, I understand. You know what I mean? They snap the ball, they block the player, blah blah blah. But a center is never more important than a fucking left tackle. I don't care what anyone says. I don't know if you ask any offensive line coach ever, I don't know one fucking offensive line coach that would ever say a center is more important than a left tackle. I've never met a single offensive line coach that would choose a center over a left tackle. So, I don't know any offensive line coach, I don't know any fucking general manager that would choose a center over a franchise cornerback, a franchise tight end, and a franchise left tackle. 3 fucking players for 1 center. And they could have gotten a left guard, like a great, like a Pro Bowl level left guard, or no, not left guard, a Pro Bowl level right guard in Kevin Zeitler. All that shit just down the fucking drain because dumbass Tom Telesco this dude thinks he's the smartest man in the world. He's not. He's a fucking dumbass. Doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. He's a fucking clown. You know what I mean? All those guys down the fucking drain. Down the fucking drain because of this man's arrogance. All the guys on the fucking roster not doing shit, getting paid tons of money to not do shit. You know what I mean? You got Trey Turner, you got Brian Bulaga, you got Chris Harris. All these guys just got paid like tons of money, and these are the guys who are contributing the least. The guys who are contributing the least are getting paid the most amount of money. So, and what did Casey Hayward get paid? He didn't get paid shit. The Raiders got him on a discount. They got Denzel Perriman on a discount. Half the players the Raiders got on a discount. And guess what? We're paying our guys who aren't doing shit. The guys who are actually being productive are barely getting paid. You know what I mean? Austin Eckler, I think he just got paid. I don't know. But most of the guys on our team that are actually contributing the most have not really gotten paid yet. Yet we're paying guys like Chris Harris Jr. and Brian Bulaga all this fucking money to just be trash. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. Before any of the Chargers fans just riot and tell me, oh yeah, we gotta fire Brandon Staley. Fire this clown Tom Telesco. Fire this dude right fucking now. Because this dude has not done a single thing right his entire tenure as general manager that any general manager would not have been able to figure out. Any fucking general manager would be able to figure out if Asante Samuel Jr. had a son, one of the greatest cornerbacks in Patriots history. If he had a son, his son would be a great cornerback. Other than that, what the fuck has this dude done? Other than sign Asante Samuel Jr., what the fuck has this dude done what has he done that's actually smart? Tell me. What has he done that any other general manager would not have been able to figure out that was smart? Tell me. I want to know. You know what I mean? I want to fucking know. You know what I mean? Exactly. So, the Raiders, man, they won this game, but at the same time, the Chargers lost this game more than the Raiders won this game. Now, I gotta give the Raiders credit for, they lost John Gruden in the middle of the season, but they were leading the division for certain parts of the season. They got blown the fuck out by the Raiders, or by the Chiefs twice. Last year, they were going toe-to-toe with the Chiefs. This year, they got blown the fuck out by the Chiefs. I don't know what the hell happened there. Clearly something's wrong over there, but the Raiders have done everything right that we have done wrong. They signed Yannick Ngakoue. They got Trayvon Merring. I think he's a stud. They signed Denzel Perriman. They signed Casey Hayward. Everything the Raiders have done, they've done it right. Now, they whiffed on a few first-round draft picks. They whiffed on guys like Damon Arnett. They whiffed on guys like Henry Ruggs. But those were guys that John Gruden wanted. Those were not guys that Mike Mayock wanted. Mike Mayock wanted guys like Darren Waller. He wanted guys like Hunter Renfrow. He wanted guys like the ones they signed this offseason. So, Mike Mayock, I gotta give him credit. I gotta give Mike Mayock credit for actually being a competent general manager, unlike this fucking clown show named fucking Tom Telesco. So, before any Chargers fan says fire Brandon Staley, first one that's gotta go is Tom Telesco. Then we'll decide on what to do with Brandon Staley later. There's a lot of changes the Chargers gotta make this offseason. Now, I heard that Akeem Hicks might be interested, so I would try to go out and get Akeem Hicks because our run defense is still trash. But other than that, I don't know what else we could do because we kind of fumbled the bag. We don't really have too much cap space to work with because there's a lot of guys we gotta pay. We gotta figure out what we want to do with Mike Williams. So there's a lot of. This is gonna be an interesting offseason for the Chargers. But one thing I know for certain is that this faggot ass dude, Tom Telesco, is probably gonna fumble the bag once again. But I mean, good luck to Justin Herbert, bro. If this dude doesn't request a trade in the next 2 years, I would definitely be shocked. I feel like by the time that 5th-year option hits, or by the time they gotta pay him, I feel like Justin Herbert's probably gonna request a trade. If the Chargers don't make the playoffs next season, this dude, Justin Herbert, is requesting a trade. I'm calling it right now. If the Chargers do not make the playoffs next season, Justin Herbert will request a trade. You can book that shit right now. I said that right now. We come back to this video a year later, and I'll say that shit proudly right now. If they don't make the playoffs next season, he is going to request a trade. He's not going to play that 4th year out. He's requesting a trade. There's teams that would probably out there that would actually build around this man better than the fucking Chargers have, and like clown-ass Tom Telesco has. You know what I mean? Well, with that being said, I'm out. Peace.